Hey, thank you so much for joining us at Antioch Tulsa's Relational Values. My name is Austin Hoxie, joined by the Mrs.
Hi, I'm Robyn.
Robyn Hoxie. She's the best. We had in June this year we planted a church, Antioch Tulsa, and in the journey, there's a few things that we've discovered, and we want to bring you in on it. And it's essentially this: that the kingdom of heaven, everything in the kingdom, everything in the person of Jesus evolves around relationships. And we are in the middle of developing this conviction that it is in relationship that we host the kingdom of heaven. And we want to bring you in a little bit of how we got there and kind of lay out the values that we've created. So thanks for joining us.
And I would say that this is a somewhat of a shocking thought for both of us.
Anytime.
Both of us got wrapped up in this whole Jesus thing. We want to follow Jesus, the person we love Jesus, the person of Jesus. But both of us probably fell in love first with the mission. And we're all about planting churches and seeing people saved and going and spreading the gospel all around the world, making disciples. And so both of us were probably very high mission oriented. And I would say for me personally, maybe not as relationally oriented.
Oh, absolutely. And in that, you can look at Jesus in the sense of what he was doing in his strategies and so easily miss how he was relating with the disciples, the Pharisees, the crowds, really in everyone. Jesus was always hosting the kingdom in the what. And so Robyn and I are getting shocked that, yes, we get to go to the ends of the earth and it's amazing and glorious and suffering and But what I think we're finding is most important is how we relate in the process of the what.
Yeah, so this initial introductory episode is maybe to bring you into maybe how we discovered that,
Totally.
the story of that, and to give you a little context for the next 6 episodes.
Absolutely.
So when did this all start?
Well,
Well, maybe that's a bad question. When did we start getting language?
so we planted a church. We were on a team, planted in 2010 in Fort Collins, Colorado. And we were up for sabbatical in the summer of 2020. And in this sabbatical process, our filter was really reflecting on who we are, who has God been, but then kind of getting clarity on what's next for us. And I think we were both shocked when we get to the end of our sabbatical and it was, hey, he's inviting us to go plant another church.
Right.
So we kind of, through seeking him, landed on Tulsa. But in the prospect of going and planting a church, we were doing a lot of reflecting on, hey, what has happened in Fort Collins over the last 10 to 12 years?
Yeah, and I mean, I think rightly so, looking out over the course of our lives over those 10 years and saying, what did we do? What was successful? What was the Lord? And what we came back to time and time again, it wasn't necessarily the perfect church planning strategy or the perfect meeting was this catalyst that created so much health in life. It actually was this culture of relationships that we had created.
And a little bit started on accident.
It was absolutely an accident.
So
So with that, let's jump into the story.
yeah, we were in Chicago. Both of us 4 or 5 years into following Jesus, and
I was more like 2, but
2-ish.
okay.
There's an ish in there somewhere. But we were initiated with from this couple that was in North Africa, and they were rolling through Chicago with the intention of planting a church in Colorado.
And so you know us, we're like missions. Yes.
Let's go. They're probably crazy. They're in North Africa.
Yeah.
So, anyways, as we chose to, as they invited us to jump in with them, the Lord was real clear, like, hey, we are invited not into this awesome, crazy thing, but really to get behind our senior leaders and to serve the call of God on their life.
Yeah. So he basically came to us as we were just praying through what we should do. And the Lord was clear. Like, I don't want you're not going for the mission. You're not going for Colorado. Really, what I'm asking you to do is to connect yourself relationally to people. And I want you to get behind, that was the language, get behind Chris and Blair. And so we said, we don't understand that, but sure.
And then they asked us to do a bunch of things we didn't want to do.
Yeah. So then that relationship got tested. We did lots of different things inside the church and chose friendship outside the church. And we just committed to each other at some level. And so we walked through some really intense things with them. I think at one point, and this is more on me, this is definitely on me, I think I did conflict with Blair probably like once a week for a month. And
For
finally,
longer than a month.
yeah. So, and she stuck it out with me. And, all the church meetings that we did or the different relationships that we were pushing into, we consistently got to choose each other over and over.
Totally. And in sabbatical, as we were reflecting back, there was a lot of remembering different things we did in the church planting process. Great visions, great strategies, even great prophetic words. And we would get all fired up and try something and then try something else. And we could never remember a specific thing that changed anything.
Mm-hmm.
But what it was the people, specifically, our team, our leaders. But then as people began experiencing these relationships in our church and beginning to stick, they weren't sticking because of our great doctrine or our great whatever infrastructure. They were sticking because of relationship that was centered on the person of Jesus.
Yeah.
And this was
And
shocking to
it was,
us.
I mean, and we didn't know it at the time. It
Right.
was, anyway. So it was crazy how when we kind of, this initial church planning friends, we chose to be committed to each other, how that spilled out. So, like Austin's mentioning, it started creating this culture in our body. So, one story in particular that I remember is so we had lived this culture out probably about 7 years at this point, and we had just gone on Austin and I had just gone out for our anniversary. Well, we had another couple living with us at the time. We had rented out our basement, and they were babysitting our children. And when we got home, they asked if they could bring a friend over, and we said sure. And this friend came over, and this friend at the time didn't know the Lord and had actually pulled away from anything spiritual at that point, and walks into our house and interacts with us. And it's like there was shock on her face the whole time she was at our house. She was like, wait, can I come back? I remember her leaving and saying, can I come hang out again? There was just such a culture of a relational culture of Jesus in our home that she just wanted to come back. Well, she kept coming back and she kept coming back, and then she got connected to more people. Eventually, she ended up deciding to follow Jesus, and now she's actually one of my closest friends, and I'm so thankful for her, and she's discipling and leading others, but it's the relational culture of Jesus that first brought her
Totally.
to know him.
Even before she really committed to following Jesus, there was kind of this joke that we had that we became besties when she
Yeah.
would show up to church on Sunday. And while it might have been awkward on this external surface, it was a part of this kind of relational dynamic of like real genuine connection. And it wasn't like she felt like she needed something from us. Like the way Jesus related to people was he was fully present and available to anyone that was in front of him. There were no like weird walls or transactional expectations. It was like a genuine like, oh, you have value. And so you are welcome in this relationship. And there's another experience I had, probably similar, 7, 8 years. Or I'm sorry, just a couple years ago. But I met this dude on campus, and we were just talking about spiritual things, and he kind of had an encounter that he couldn't explain. And it took a couple weeks after that. We had a little bit of a surface relationship, but he finally started coming around, like to church and to different small groups. And what he discovered is the young guys in our church very quickly kind of welcomed him in at whatever level he wanted to.
Mm.
And it was only a matter of time before, through these relationships, he's discovering Jesus and finding that this is actually what he wants to do with his life. And there was no magical aha moment. It was simply him being in this relational culture that hosted the kingdom, that like it's truth because it's Jesus. And it's not like a one statement doctrinal thus you're saved.
Well, it's like an experience. It's like
Totally.
it's like an experience with the person of Jesus as we're creating this culture that where we relate like him. It's easy. The step to knowing him is easier in
Yeah.
that vein.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, I remember even I was leading a training school. This is how dense maybe we were. I was leading our training school, and we were having a worship moment. And I just remember starting to pray during this worship moment. Wow, Jesus, the kingdom is relational. Relational.
Mm-hmm.
The currency, if you will, of the kingdom is relationships. It's all about relationships. You are relational in your nature. Like you're the Trinity. You had chose to come down and so you could relate to people. You invite people into relationships. I was blown away maybe of how things move in the kingdom is maybe I would say relational
Yes,
and how the kingdom is built.
totally.
And so I think it created this culture to where now, having been sent out from Antioch, Fort Collins, I can look back and say, wow, Antioch, Fort Collins is one of the healthiest churches I've ever been at because people are choosing to relate like Jesus
Yeah,
related.
absolutely. And all the structures, they evolve with our best ideas as we try and implement faith. But the substance of the kingdom is the presence of God, which is manifested in how we relate first to the head, but then also to the body. And you can't separate them out. And so going back to sabbatical 2020, we're going to plant this church in Tulsa. And as we're kind of reflecting back on this relational nature and starting to really look at the person of Jesus and ask, hey, how did you relate? And then how did we kind of intuitively begin doing that in Fort Collins? It really helped us over the course of some time create language and come up with these 6 relational values.
And they've been edited and edited.
Edited, and they are by no means like like they could totally evolve. We're talking about the how did the person of Jesus relate to people and to God. Like there's by no means that we've answered that question in full, but we have done quite a bit of work of narrowing down to 6.
Yeah, so we have these 6 relational values, and you're going to get to hear about them in depth in the next few episodes. But what's been really cool is the Lord asked us to, this was our initial way that we were going to launch our Antioch Tulsa church. So what we've been doing over the last 6 months is we've been discipling our launch team, and really we've been doing it too, working through these values explicitly. And I think what has been shocking to me is the explicit, like writing these down and having like a definitive word for them, definition for them, and being able to practice them explicitly has accelerated everybody's ability to participate. Like
Yeah.
we lived out these values for 12 years. Like that was our discipleship process a little bit, and these values and somehow writing them down and practicing them intentionally has created so much acceleration for everybody, where we really have there's this beautiful relational culture that's developing in our church right now.
Yeah.
And so we've been practicing them over the last 6 months, and we've been hosting different life groups in our home, and it's just been this amazing season of practicing these relational values in a very intentional way.
Yeah, and we've been implementing them intentionally with our launch team of 9 and 9 adults and then 4 kids. And you are going to hear in the next 6 episodes us interviewing 5 of our different launch team members, and they're going to share not only a little bit of their experience, but how it's playing out in our culture, which really excited about. And because as we've done this together, it's continued to shape and evolve them because we don't see the full picture in of ourselves. Like we have to have the body of Christ in union to be able to function in union with the head.
Right. So the next 6 episodes are meant for, we're actually opening up and discipling a broader group of people in these over the next 6 months, we have we're calling it our culture class or culture cohort
It's legit.
school that people are going to be signing up to participate in. But really, we just wanted to put these out there and give you a little bit of the backstory as to why, but put these out there so anybody who would be interested could maybe put these into practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And discover them for yourselves. Like, they're not magic. They all take us back to the person of Jesus, who was fully connected to the Father and then chooses to fully connect himself with us, the body of Christ. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening in, guys. We're glad that you're a part of this and listening wherever you're at.
Yeah, enjoy the ride. We'll see you at the next episode.